Hey guys, Jeff Beggins here. I am getting all kinds of questions from you guys, and if we don't know each other, I am one of the owners of C21 Beggins, listed with Beggins BE3. We have agents and offices from Key West, Florida, all the way to Pensacola, Panama City, Tampa, Orlando, everything in between. And we've been doing this for about 50 years as a family now, so billions of dollars of real estate, a ton of property. So we've come from this from we know what's going on, and I get a ton of questions because we know what's going on. So here's a couple of the top ones we're getting right now. Question number one.
What's really happening with the new buyer rule?
What's really happening with the new buyer rule? Guys, it is a beep show, right, of what's really going on right now, because it's just crazy. So the Department of Justice had a big giant lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, big real estate companies. They were basically saying that there was price collusion and the whole, whatever their situations were. Basically, long story short, it changed the way compensation played in the real estate market. So historically, this is what happened, and here's what's happening right now. So if you're a seller, you always had the right and the opportunity and decision whether or not you were going to offer seller compensation or buyer compensation. You got to choose what you were going to pay a seller. You got to choose what you were going to pay a buyer, if anything. There were always companies and agents that would do stuff for discounts. You'd have 1%, 2%, 3% listing side commission. You'd have 1%, 2%, 3% buyer side commission. You'd have buyer rebates. You'd have flat fees. You had everything. It's always been here. So nothing's really changed, right? So the only difference is if I'm a seller, I have a choice to make, and I always did have a choice to make, and I still have a choice to make, and I always will have a choice to make. Do I want to incentivize the buyer's agent communities to bring their buyers to me? And if so, how much am I willing to pay them to actually do it? Now, previously, that money used to channel through the brokerage. So if we were the listing company and you were the seller, you'd say, hey, C21 Beggins, B3, this with Beggins, we'll pay you 6%, 5%, 4%, whatever we negotiated out. That's your total commission. Then we as a brokerage were able to say, hey, buyer's world, if you bring a buyer to this property, 123 Any Street, which we're hired to represent and sell, we will make sure that you get X percentage of the purchase price as your commission, which is a piece of ours, right? That's just what's been happening for a long time, right? So now the only difference is we're not the middleman on the deal. So the seller says, hey, C21 Beggins, list with Beggins B3, we're going to pay you X percent, whatever's negotiated from the listing side. You represent us, you market us, you represent us, you make sure the transaction happens, you sell my house. And then buyer side, I'm willing to offer the buyer's agent. Now notice who's offering it. It's not us anymore offering it. It's the seller offering it to the buyer side saying, if you bring a buyer, I'll pay you 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever is negotiated into the deal, right? So that's an option now. Now they also are able to say zero. They always were able to say, they actually weren't allowed to say zero, right? They had to offer something. That was a big change in the MLS. Now they can offer zero and say, hey, buyer's agent, bring me a buyer if you want, but not paying you anything, figure it out. Get your buyer to pay you yourself. So that's the biggest change that's happened right now. So all sellers have an option. They've always had the option. They always will continue to have options, whether or not to pay and what to pay the listing side and the buyer side. So the biggest changes inside the industry is it can no longer be on the multiple listing system. So agent to agents don't know if and what their compensation would be, if anything. So now they have to talk directly to the listing agent to figure out if the seller is offering anything and what that amount might be, right? That's really the biggest change that happened. And the second change is buyers now have to go under contract with an agreement with a buyer's agent before they're showing houses, right? And saying, hey, I want to go see a house. You say, great, I'd love to, but the new regulations are saying I need to have you sign one of these forms. A simple touring agreement, I'll just show you around and we'll get to know each other. B, a showing agreement, I'll show you 123 Any Street. So if you buy that one, you're going to pay me something, and this is the amount I'm going to get paid, whether it's from the seller or whether from you, I know and I'm going to get paid. Or 3 is an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement where you say, I really want help from you in this marketplace, in this area for this long. You please be my buyer's agent, right? And take care of me. And I'll make sure you get paid X dollars or X percentage. And it's either going to come from the seller, it's going to come from me. I'm just going to make sure you get paid, right? So those are the two changes. No more MLS offering a compensation, and buyers have to engage with a buyer's agent before they actually see a property that's on the market. So that's what's the biggest differences are. On that one, it's really the same thing with different verbiage that's out there. And that's how the flow goes. So that's the new things that have happened with the real estate industry recently. A lot of confusion out there. In essence, sellers get to choose. what they pay the listing side. They get to choose if and what they pay the buyer side, and you have to choose a buyer's agent to go look at properties with. So that's the new rules of what's really going on the buyer side. Second question.
Should I sell or buy a house?
Right now, it's a very good question. I get this a lot from past clients of ours, friends, neighbors, everything. This market's crazy. Should I even be buying right now? And the answer is it depends, right? It depends. No, I'm going to give you my reason to buy right now, and then I'll give you my reason not to buy right now. So don't buy right now. Let's do that one first. If you're happy with your place and you don't need to move, don't have any pressure to move anywhere, just stay where you are, right? Unless you're renting, and I think that's not a big thing to do because there's a million reasons, a whole different video. But from a buyer perspective, here's why you need to buy right now. This market, and we've called this for years, right? We know exactly where it's going. We have a great pulse on the market. We've been calling this slack tide for a very long time. Nothing really happens, is my fishing analogy, right? Nothing really happens at slack tide. Tide's not going in, tide's not going out. It's just kind of sitting there. The market's been just sitting there. Nobody's been excited to buy because rates have been historically fine, but short-term memory very high, and people don't want to buy at 8%, 7%, and high 6%. They just don't want to, especially if they're in a home right now that they're paying 2, 3, or 4% on. It's a big jump to pay a 3% interest rate up to a 7% interest rate. So everyone's like, time out, I'm out, I'm not even in the market. I'm on the sidelines, just let it happen around me. I don't care, right? So that's what's been happening out in the market. That's why it's slack tide. So a lot of sellers are sitting that would like to sell, but they're not going to because they don't want to pay high prices with their new interest rate. So as soon as rates are going down, which we've been promised, it's been happening where they've been threatening, it's going to be May, June, July, August, September. Is it going to be? Yes, it's going to have to be because the economy needs stimulation because it's in deep, 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 deep trouble. And we're rolling into an election, which we've been talking about for a long time. We know the cuts are going to come before the election. And guess what? We're about 90 days away from the election. So get ready because you know that they're coming, right? You know that they're coming. So let's talk about what's going to happen when they come. Rates drop. Fed rates. Mortgage rates aren't directly related to the Fed rates, but they certainly follow, right? So the Fed cuts the rates, the rate they loan, banks loan money to each other. So that does have an effect. Mortgage rates follow that one. So let's say mortgage rates drop. Every 1% is an extra 2 million buyers in the marketplace looking, right? So just put that number in your head for a second. 1% drop, 2 million more people looking. So right now in slack tide as a buyer, you're going to go on MLS, you're going to call your agent, look at your search and go on Zillow, go on homes.com, go wherever you're going to go. You're going to see a ton of inventory and you're going to see the average days on the market or the days on the market. You're seeing homes that have been sitting for a very long time because it's slack tide and a lot of the buyers aren't buying. You're only buying right now if you're getting married, getting divorced, having kids, right? Getting laid off, getting financial situation, something happens in a state situation, and regular real life real estate that forces a sale is the only people buying and selling right now, or good investment properties. Those are always going to sell, right? So now you're sitting in a slack tide as a buyer and you're wondering, should I actually buy something? And then the answer is, if I go buy right now, I'm the only buyer probably going to see that house today. And if I'm pre-approved and I have a lot of leverage and I'm showing I am capable of buying this one, I have tremendous leverage right now when I'm going to sellers' properties. I'm saying, you've been on the market for 187 days. You clearly haven't sold. It looks like you want to. Here's my pre-approval letter. I'd like to buy it. This is the time you get the concessions. This is the time you get a really good price. This is the time you can get some rate buy downs. This is the time you get the hot tub thrown in, right? This is what you're getting in a marketplace right now. Now, let me tell you how quickly that changes. When you're not the only buyer in the market, it's over, right? So if you're the only person interested in this home right now, you're in control. The moment one other person is interested in the house also, your leverage is gone. No more concessions, buy to the hot tub, buy to the rate buy down, because the seller is going to start getting cocky. Well, if you don't take it, he will. Then you get an enter a third or fourth person that comes to show it. You get 6 showings this weekend. All bets are off. All leverage is gone. Now it switches and you're like, well, how about I don't want the hot tub? How about I pay your price, right? That's how quickly it shifts with 1 or 2 people looking at the same house you're looking at. So right now it's all market specific, supply and demand driven. Right now is the time to buy because you have a lot of sellers going, man, please drop the rates, please drop the rates, please hurry, I gotta sell, this sucks, right? So this is the time to go in strong with a great buyer-broker agreement with a very strong agent that can represent you well. Find the agents, find the sellers that actually are having a lot more motivation, and go I won't say it, I'll say it, exploit the situation for your benefit, because this is the time you can do it. The moment rates drop, which they're having little drops along the way right now, but the moment they drop a quarter, half a point, or 1 point, right, you're going to see a lot more people come in the market. Your leverage is gone, right? So why would you wait for that? You know it's coming. You know it's coming in the next couple of months. So if you're in the market to buy in the next 6 months to a year and you're not buying right now, then I think you might need to do a little mental exam, because it's stupid to not buy right now, especially when you have loan programs such as Navy Federal, where you can lock into today's rate and you know they're going to drop. I can negotiate a rate buy down for you many times with the sellers. We can also get loan programs that say when rates do drop, you can refinance that for like a couple $100. You don't actually have to do a full refinance. And there's several loan programs out there that do that. So get in there with the leverage, lock yourself in. You know your payment is going to go lower from here, and you're going to be able to drop it when the rates do adjust. So that is the answer as to why to buy now, and you need to do it, guys. I'm telling you, if you're in the market, then do it. Go call your lender, go call your agent, and get signed up with a buyer broker agreement with the one person that you trust that knows that marketplace, and lock yourself in, because they're going to be very scarce time with that person, and you want to book yourself in with that person right now and get them signed to a buyer broker agreement. Get with the lender that you trust or that they want you to work with, and get pre-approved, go through the underwriting process, and be as good as gold and truly approved, so you can come in with strength in your negotiation and really get the terms on your terms, right? So that's why you need to be buying right now.
What's going to happen with prices when the rates drop, even with inflation here in Florida?
What's going to happen with prices when the rates do drop? This can be very interesting to see what happens, because everything's supply and demand driven. Everything is consumer confidence driven. So here's what I see. So just to the example we just talked about, the moment you get 2, 3, or 4 people looking at the same property, right, the pricing leverage switches back to the seller control. So is that seller going to take a lowball price when you have 2 or 3 people looking at the property? No, right? So therefore, I don't see prices dropping at that level. Now, everything is a micro market. So if you have 14 houses in one neighborhood, that's a problem, because one of the 14 people is hurting more than the other ones, and someone's going to exploit that situation and get the cheaper price, and that's going to force a new comp. And so you do have complications in those type of micro markets that are oversaturated, right? But from a general perspective, when you go into the marketplace and you have people coming out of the woodworks to buy, which we will see in the next few months, it's going to absorb the inventory, right? And so as inventory gets absorbed, prices aren't going to be dropped. They're going to be stagnant. They're going to start raising up. They're certainly not going to go down, because they can't. Their supply and demand is going to drive them up. Now, what are you going to see? You're going to see affordability sucks, right? But affordability is inverse with interest rates, right? So if prices go up and interest rates go down, it's a net wash, right? Because your monthly payment is lower, even if the prices go higher. So you're going to watch that happen. Or are we going to get into a California type situation where over here on the East Coast, possibly what do they counteract over there? 40-year mortgages, right? What does that do? Drops their payments down. Are we going to see that? Probably. I bet you we see 40, 50-year mortgages coming in the not too distant future, just to help the affordability crisis situation out there. Because look, let's be realistic. Banks make money renting out their money. They're not going to figure out a time where they're not going to be able to rent money. If they're going to put it on a 40-year term instead of a 30-year term, what do they care, right? They want to get their X percent on their money that's sitting in their vaults, right? So free market always prevails. That's what's going to happen out there. So I do see prices are going to come up in a lot of micro markets simply because they're driven with supply and demand. But I do think the lower rates will offset that one. And so those of you who have a great paid off home are going to really have fun. And those of you with low interest rates are really going to enjoy it, because you're in a much better position. And it's just going to be a fun situation to watch. And it's definitely micro market specific. So get a good agent that can guide you through what you should be buying and what you should not be buying in your position. So that's my answer to that one there. All right, so there's a couple of the top questions I'm getting this week, right? And it's a lot. I could have gone on for hours on this one with all the agents and the transactions that we're doing right now. But the points are, get ready. If you're a buyer or seller, get fully approved. Get deep with your lender right now. Go through the underwriting process. Make sure that you can act as if you're a cash buyer, so when the right property comes up, you can pounce on it. If you're a seller, please, please, please get ready. Stage the house. Clean up the house. Get your flower beds looking nice. Pressure wash. Touch up the paint. Get your agent involved. Get the photographs ready. And even if you don't go live right now, because you shouldn't go live until you are in the command position in your micro market. And what I mean by that, you need to make sure that When you go on, you're the prettiest, you're the nicest, you're the best positioned property in your market segment right there. And you need to be ready because that could switch like now. If you say, oh my God, this is the right time. Oh, but my backyard looks like crap and my closet's not cleaned out and I haven't cleaned up the pool. It's still a little green. I got cobwebs. Oh, my yard looks like crap. Don't be that person, right? That misses the opportunity. You want to be able to say, I'm ready. I'm on point. Oh, this is the time, agent. There's no other 4-bedroom, 3-bath for sale in the zip code and I'd be the only one right now. Let's go, right? And then turn the switch because the photographs are done, the videos are done, the house is looking awesome. So prepare to pounce is my 100% recommendation. Whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer, prepare to pounce right now. Just be ready because it's coming and the countdown is on. Between now and election time, this end of the year is the time that you're going to make amazing moves, but only if you're ready. Get a great agent, listen to them, position yourself, and be ready to pounce.